Two vehicles. One's the advanced vehicle, and then the other is the lead vehicle, the truck that I'm driving. And so we'll stay in the RVs. Yeah.
I might stand across from right here.
Oh, good. No snoring.
Yeah.
Just kidding. Yeah, I didn't hear you snore. It was George snoring last night, boy. I was sitting there and I was like, what?
You're on live.
That's okay.
Exactly. A big round of applause for the Run for the Fall for what they're doing. And once again, everybody from Patriot Guard, thank you so much for this. We just have a couple of things. If we can get the San Juan Sheriff up here. They helped with the escort, and Patriot Guard Riders want to present with this certificate for their help today. And a person from the National Guard, I don't remember your name, sorry. Sergeant Bird. There you go, Sergeant Bird. A certificate for them for allowing us the use of the building today and for you guys to stay here tonight. So, and then the 4 runners from today, if we can get you up here.
Kristen, Teddy and Keller. Teddy and Keller. And Brian.
It's only 3.
Here we go.
Okay. These are
Rocket Man.
Patriot Guard Rider of Utah Challenge points. We want to present to each one of the runners. The running. God, that's
Thank you.
awesome. I guess it's my turn. I can't tell you how appreciative I am for you guys. I'm embarrassed though. I have to tell you, I'm really embarrassed. So you're going to have to either hold me to my embarrassment or forgive me, because we end up working our miles based on how many runners we have and what the road conditions, of the day. And so today, we kind of shortened our miles a little bit, so we weren't running full miles all the time. So that meant the end of the day got closer and closer to Rock Point than it did to Bluff. And so when we saw you guys standing out there, it was like, oh my gosh, why are they here? Why are they here? We thought you were going to be, at the Army or somewhere else. So we didn't know what to do, and we just kind of went, oh no, what do we do? And so forgive me. I was in the lead car, and I take all the responsibility. But I will tell you something. We have been traveling now for 27 days. 27 days for 1,284 miles, 82 miles we've been running. And we have never, in those 26 days, had a Patriot Guard escort. You guys rock. I'm not kidding you, you rock. And what an amazing sight it was to see. So I'm so appreciative to have you guys be a part of this. It means so much. I will tell you, the Patriot Guard I'm from Virginia, from Norfolk, Virginia. And the Patriot Guard started around the same time that my son was killed in '05. And so the Patriot Guard, my son was the Patriot Guard of Virginia's first mission. And so the Patriot Guard means the world to me. And I just appreciate seeing you guys and having you come out. And I'm so glad that you all were able to get out here and we didn't just go by you and wave and say, you know, oh my gosh, thank you. So from the bottom of our hearts, I know it meant so much to everybody. Thanks for being out there, and thanks for being here with us so we might be able to share with you a little bit about what we're doing. So I'm sure that Gary has already told you about this. I know that one of the dads here, he was here 10 years ago. There was an initial Run for the Fallen run. And what happened was, on Memorial Day of 2008, the Honor and Remember organization was formed. I don't know if you know about the Honor and Remember flag or not. It happens to be the state symbol of Remembrance in Utah, so you should know about it. But whether you do or not, 10 years ago, in 2008, the Honor and Remember flag was established to be a national symbol of remembrance. 2 weeks after Memorial Day, on Flag Day, a gentleman named John Maloney decided he was going to run across America for his college roommate who had been killed in '05 as well. And so his name was Michael Cleary. So John decided that he was going to take all of the battle casualties at that time in '08, it was about 3,800, and he was going to put up put a route together that would include all 3,800 of those men and women from Fort Irwin, California to Arlington National Cemetery, about 11 states. 2 weeks into his journey, he and a handful of people, it wasn't a huge organized thing, but he and a handful of people decided they were going to do this in this little minivan. And about 2 weeks into the journey, John and I connected. And I said, hey, John, you're running across America for our fallen military. I said, we have a flag that represents every fallen service member in the history of our country. You should probably carry it, or at least know it exists. And he said, absolutely, send me one. And so John and I became quick friends. Fast forward about another 5 years, and John's gone off, been married, he's gone off back to college, and he's really gone on with his life. He lives in Oregon now. And so I said, John, what are you doing with Run for the Fallen? Because it mirrors perfectly what we're trying to do, and that is to remember. And what you've done is to create a platform by which you remembered all those 3,800, back in '08. I said, we would like to continue that. And so we, as an organization, started state runs, which we now have in 4 states: Arizona, Virginia, New York, and Indiana. We actually have state Run for the Fallen that we focus on those that died or were affiliated with the state themselves. About 2 years ago, 4 years, another couple of years after that, John went on with his life, and basically we absorbed Run for the Fallen into our organization with a promise of we would never forget we would never forget our fallen, obviously, as an organization, but we would continue to run for the fallen as often as we can in different parts of the country. So our goal is to create a state Run for the Fallen in all 50 states. However, we were now coming up to our 10th anniversary, both of the Honor and Remember organization and the Run for the Fallen organization, which was now a part of us. And so John and I had a conversation. I said, John, we now, 10 years later, or 8 years later, because we started thinking about this 2 years ago, we said what we need to do is have a 10th anniversary run. We need to, again, take every one of those men and women and put them on a path across America. But I didn't just want to take battle casualties. I wanted to take every single man or woman who died while serving their country, whether it be in training, whether it be on the way to the hospital or on the way to work, or if they died while serving, then I wanted to honor them. And I wanted to take it a step further, because there are men and women now who have been caught up in the hidden wounds, right? The emotional wounds of PTSD. And we have lost many, many men and women through their own hand, from one casualty or another. And so I wanted to include those who died as a result of serving. And so I got with the DOD and the Department of the Army and the Department of the Navy, and we gathered together the most comprehensive database of fallen service members ever put together. And people ask me, because we say 20,000 heroes, 19 states, 6,000 miles, 5 months for 20,000 heroes. And people ask me, well, where did you get these 20,000 heroes? Well, unfortunately, I didn't have to get them. They were there. And by a compilation over the last couple of years, we have now reached over 20,000 service members. And I will tell you, almost every day now, at least every week, I'm getting another name or more of those who have given their lives. And so it was only fair, as you look at the enormous amount of casualties, to be able to honor every single one of them. And that took a little bit of thinking, because John took a path of 4,000 miles for 3,800 heroes. We were looking now at over 20,000. How do you logically, without running forever, put that many heroes together in a venue or an organizational structure that makes sure that every one of them is not forgotten? So what we decided to do was take chronologically their dates of death. So we started with the USS Cole, October 12th of 2000. And we took every unique date of death and we made that a mile. So it didn't matter if one person died on that day, or in the case of 9/11, we had 57 that service members that died on 9/11, including the Pentagon and the Twin Towers and Pennsylvania. So 57 died that day. That mile was dedicated to those 57. So you get the picture. We started with 2000, and every day, every mile is a different date of death. We are now into 2004. This is as far as we've gotten, from 00 to 04. And we'll tell you what those dates are. In dividing up all those dates of death, we came up with, this was 2 years ago, and we realized that there are going to be more dates of death, right? Because it just is reality. We had to give ourselves enough room at the end to add more, because we knew we were going to be bad at it. So we left ourselves 1,000 miles, right? 1,000 miles. And we are now within about 50 miles of Arlington Cemetery. So those names continue to grow. So our hope is that this has never been done before, guys. Taken so many of our men and women, 20,000 plus, and called their names out loud, 1 mile at a time, with none forgotten. The only way we can forget is if a family who maybe after something happened after service doesn't know about us, doesn't know we're doing this, and can't add them in time. But we're still making room for that as well. And so mile after mile, if you haven't had a chance to stand at a marker, this is where the power would be. If you guys can come out tomorrow at all, I don't know where you are, but if you can come out and stand at any one of these markers and listen to the names of these heroes being called, it is one of the most powerful things that you can imagine. Because those families aren't always there. And sometimes there's nobody there. And so we're calling these names out loud to the air. And we're hoping to stream this, we're filming it, to make sure that these loved ones are not forgotten. And so this is what our mission is. is to make sure that every single name is called out across America until we get to Arlington on August the 5th. And when we get to Arlington, it is our hope that we are able to call out the very last person that died serving their country at the moment we stop. And what more appropriate place than to be in Arlington Cemetery at that very moment. 2 o'clock on August the 5th. Write that down. Because if you're not there, I'm hoping that you're going to be watching it, because it'll still be streaming live when we get there. Right? And so we have a core team that have dedicated themselves and really put their lives on hold for 5 months. Because we decided they decided, the vision to do it was there. We were going to do it. But we had to have people step up and be a part of the support team. Because without the support, we can't make it happen. And we could plan all day long. And then without the runners, we're not running miles and we're not calling out heroes. So we have to have the runners too. And sometimes we've been very thin on runners. I'm talking about like one runner for a day. That's pretty thin. And what did we do? We said, well, we'll just drive that mile. And then we'll get out and we'll call out that name. We'll just drive really slow so we're on time. But no, our one runner for the day wouldn't let us do that. No, we're going to run that mile. And we're going to call out those heroes, for not only for America, but for the loved ones that are out there, knowing that we're doing this. And so I want my team to stand up. All of my team. I've got... Everybody stand up. Hey, go. This is the core team. They're driving the RVs. They're preparing food. They're cleaning up. They're standing at the hero markers. They're calling the names out loud. They're doing whatever it is that needs to be done. Now, everybody had a job initially, like, okay, well, I'm only going to do this, or I'm going to just do that. But you know how that goes, right? There's not enough people to do everything, and so everybody has just been pitching in and doing everything. And so even my photographers, who didn't think they would do anything but take pictures, are running miles. They're actually running miles. How many miles you run today? You ran 3 miles today, right? Same with you? The other day they ran 15. Okay. But today we had a lot of runners. We had a lot from the Navajo Indian Reservation. They came out and they joined us and they jumped in different places. And so we had more runners. I'm not individually naming everybody, but that's Paulette and Augie. They're Gold Star parents. They've committed to the next 5 months. Laura is a Blue Star mom. She's committed to the next 5 months. We've got Teddy and Keller are photographers, and they came to photograph, and they've committed to the next 5 months. And Kristen, our core runner, she's going to be with us the entire time till the end. And how many miles did you run today? 18 miles by herself today. So she does that about every day. So this isn't, she's no slacker. Dan, raise your hand. We've conscripted Dan from California. Dan was with us. His sister ran for 3 or 4 days. And then Dan said, well, how can I help? And I said, well, we need a vehicle. He's from San Diego. I said, I need a vehicle brought to Phoenix because, a week and a half ago? And so Dan's still with us, and he's going to be with us through Albuquerque, through Amarillo. Through Amarillo, he's going to be with us. So the infection of what we're doing has taken hold, and we've got people coming back and wanting to be a part of it. And Brian, I know Brian ran, today was your first day, Brian. How many miles did you run? 7. He ran 7 miles today, some for some buddies that he lost, and already he's coming back multiple times. So one of the traditions that we do, we'll be here to fellowship and answer questions, but One of the things that we do at the end of every night, without hesitation, even sometimes it's just our crew in an RV, and sometimes it is because there's no end of day meal and we're not meeting anybody. So one of the things we do every night, after I shut my mouth, is we re-honor those loved ones that we ran for today. And so, as I said, mile after mile, we've been calling out names. 242 names, is that what?
226.
226 today. But there wasn't always somebody there to hear them. We happen to have 3 families today whose sons all died on the same day. And they all were at that marker at the same time. And some of those families didn't even know each other. And they were able to meet and hug at that marker and have a commonality of their sons having died on the same day. And that was the only families we had today with those 3. So, families have to come a long way to stand at their marker, most of the time. This one family came from South Carolina today. Another one came from Phoenix, which wasn't as far. I don't remember where the other one came from.
From the reservations.
From where?
Salt Lake City.
From Salt Lake
Oh,
City.
Salt Lake City.
So those were 3 families that showed up today. But that was one marker, guys. That was 1 mile. The rest of the 48 or 47 miles that we ran, there were no families there. We had, Brian came to run for his buddies, and we've had that happen before. And so, since we've read them all once, we like to come at the end of the day and make sure that everyone who's here with us gets to hear those names. Because those families, for those other 223, they weren't out there. But you guys are here. And the names that we're going to read tonight, I would like for you to consider that you're standing in for those families. Just like you stood for the many families that you have over the years as you do your missions. These names read tonight may not be names you've heard of, but they are family. They do belong to a family somewhere in this country. And I want you all to just hear those names with that in mind, that you're hearing those for those family members and making that statement for them. And we have the reading of the names here read. We're streaming this, we're recording it, so that if the families do get to hear this portion of what we do, they're going to know you're here with them and standing for them. Now, there's 226 names. It's not going to take 2 minutes to do this. So I appreciate that you're here and you're listening. Well, I want to leave you with one more thought before they read. This may be the last time someone reads one of these names. I don't know the family situation. I don't even know if the family's still living. I don't know anything about some of these families. I do know some. But I want you to, as you listen to them, realize that this may be the last time this name is read out loud. And this may be, wherever the sergeant went, this may be the most names read in this facility, in this kind of a venue. Because most of the time you're reading local heroes or, people that you know. So this may be the only time that this many is read in this opportunity. And so I'm going to throw it to Kristen, and I'm going to turn this around.
Please silence your cell phone.
Everyone, please silence your cell phones because we've had a number of phones go off inappropriately. That includes mine. And I'm going to stand off to the side.
So these dates we're reading for are from 7/22/2004 until 9/9/2004. Sergeant Tatiana Lee, United States Army. Sergeant Erin Elizabeth Edwards, United States Army. Lieutenant Lawrence David Hilton, United States Navy. Private First Class Tori J. Dantzler, United States Army. Private First Class Dennis L. Mitchell II, United States Marine Corps. Corporal Justin Martin Humphreys, United States Army. Lance Corporal Vincent Michael Sullivan, United States Marine Corps. Staff Sergeant Timothy Dale Hilterbrand, United States Army. Private Jason Jeremy Proyer, United States Army. Staff Sergeant Michael Anthony Robertson, United States Army. Petty Officer Second Class Isang Martin Asin, United States Navy. Specialist Nicholas J. Zangara, United States Army. Master Sergeant Stephen Anthony Monin, United States Air Force. Sergeant Matthew Sutton Adams, United States Marine Corps. Lance Corporal Chevelle Dingle Jr., United States Marine Corps. Senior Airman Ida Mae Javier Sims, United States Air Force. Master Sergeant Richard Duran Quintana Jr., United States Army. Staff Sergeant Donald D. Schumann, United States Army. Fireman Apprentice Daniel Lee Posibio, United States Navy. First Lieutenant Zane Daniel Kang, United States Army. Major Bradley Stephen Abels, United States Air Force. Sergeant First Class Eduardo Morales Martinez, United States Army. Sergeant DeForest L. Talbert, United States Army National Guard. Lieutenant Colonel Arthur Peter Vidal III, United States Army. Lieutenant Colonel David S. Green, United States Marine Corps Reserve. Gunnery Sergeant Sean A. Lane, United States Marine Corps. Private First Class Ken W. Leaston, United States Army National Guard. Lance Corporal Christopher Adam Johnson, United States Marine Corps. Lance Corporal Richard Daniel Hathaway, United States Marine Corps. Sergeant Nation Donta Jamal Hassan, United States Army. Command Master Sergeant Daniel Kevin Bonin, United States Air Force. Corporal Joseph F. Herndon II, United States Army. Sergeant First Class Joe Antonio Zapata, United States Army. Specialist Courtney Lee Hess, United States Army. Staff Sergeant Mary Elizabeth Richardson, United States Air Force. Tech Sergeant Randy Way Westervelt Jr., United States Air Force. Sergeant Gregory Donegan, United States Army. Major Gary Lance Watson, United States Army. Staff Sergeant Samuel L. River Jr., United States Army. Petty Officer Second Class Bradley Allen Jodal, United States Navy. Gunnery Sergeant Angelique Marie Miranda, United States Marine Corps. Sergeant Armando Hernandez, United States Army. Master Chief Petty Officer Beverly James Cocos, United States Navy. Petty Officer First Class David Lee Durrett, United States Navy. Specialist Anthony J. Dixon, United States Army. Lieutenant Colonel James Warren Howard, United States Army. Sergeant Justin B. Unwardy, United States Army. Corporal Dean P. Pratt, United States Marine Corps. Sergeant Juan Calderon Jr., United States Marine Corps. Senior Airman Myron Roderick Carriel, United States Air Force. Sergeant Tommy L. Gray, United States Army. Private First Class Harry N. Shundi Jr., United States Army. Captain Gregory A. Retzlaff, United States Marine Corps. Lance Corporal Christopher Edward Custer, United States Marine Corps. Gunnery Sergeant Elia P. Fontecchio, United States Marine Corps. Master Sergeant William Samuel Gregory, United States Air Force. Lance Corporal Joseph L. Nice, United States Marine Corps. Chief Warrant Officer 2, Robert Allen Babinski, United States Army. Senior Airman Jeffrey Thomas Alfieri, United States Air Force. Sergeant Moses Daniel Rasha, United States Marine Corps. Specialist Donald R. McCune, United States Army National Guard. Senior Master Sergeant Ramiro Ramirez Jr., United States Air Force. Private First Class Raymond J. Falstich Jr., United States Army. Sergeant Yadir G. Reynoso, United States Marine Corps. Specialist Justin Michael Joyner, United States Army. Sergeant Jeffrey Allen Classic, United States Army. Staff Sergeant Steve Ellis Taylor, United States Army. Tech Sergeant Dean Anthony Oluski, United States Air Force.
Corporal Roberto Abad, United States Marine Corps. Lance Corporal Larry L. Wells, United States Marine Corps. Specialist Joshua I. Bunch, United States Army. Private First Class Gabriel Ray Towarak, United States Marine Corps. Lieutenant Lawrence Richard Meade, United States Army. Private First Class Michael Ray Hughes, United States Army. Staff Sergeant Craig W. Cherry, United States Army National Guard. Sergeant Bobby E. Beasley, United States Army National Guard. Specialist First Class, Sergeant First Class Chris Kachuna Bonner, United States Army. Private First Class David L. Potter, United States Army. Private First Class Blake Edward Karsten, United States Army. Specialist Charles Thomas Latham, United States Army. Private First Class Jamie Robert Schmidhammer, United States Army. Lieutenant David Michael Barksdale, United States Navy. Sergeant Raul Alonzo Topiti, United States Army. Lance Corporal Jonathan W. Collins, United States Marine Corps. Captain Andrew R. Hungton, United States Army. Specialist Alan Michael Two Babies, United States Army. Specialist Nathan Robert Faulkner, United States Army. Petty Officer Second Class Joshua Brent Showwater, United States Navy. Lieutenant James Joseph Puplo, United States Navy. Lieutenant Commander Scott Allen Zeeland, United States Navy. Lieutenant Patrick Sean Myrick, United States Navy. Sergeant Michael Anthony Ayaya, United States Army. Specialist Wesley Fania Clay, United States Army. Specialist Rodney Lamar Dukes, United States Army. Specialist Michael Christensen Sanders, United States Army. Hospital Man Bradford Daniel Dent, United States Navy. Staff Sergeant John R. Howard, United States Marine Corps. Lance Corporal Tavon L. Hubbard, United States Marine Corps. Sergeant Lancer O'Neill Dever, United States Army. Sergeant Daniel Lee Galvin, United States Army. Captain Michael Yuri Tarlasky, United States Army. First Lieutenant Neil Anthony Santarello, United States Army. Lance Corporal Nicholas B. Morrison, United States Marine Corps. Chief Petty Officer Robert Leroy Kozja, United States Navy. Lance Corporal Kane M. Funke, United States Marine Corps. Specialist Kevin Robert Schroeder, United States Army. Private First Class Jonathan David Beverly, United States Army. Private Second Class Dennis Reeder Gow III, United States Army. Specialist Darrell James Riblet, United States Army. Specialist Alan J. Burgess, United States Army National Guard. Sergeant Jason David West Jr., United States Army. Private First Class Fernando B. Hannon, United States Marine Corps. Petty Officer Third Class Michael Thomas Palazzo, United States Navy. Private First Class Jeffrey Perez, United States Marine Corps. Private First Class Brendan R. Sapp, United States Army. Sergeant Daniel Michael Shepard, United States Army. Second Lieutenant James Michael Goins, United States Army. Specialist Mark Anthony Sabata, United States Army. Staff Sergeant Heather Leanne Cunningham, United States Army. Corporal Robert Michael Weber Jr., United States Marine Corps. Petty Officer Third Class Kevin John Araita, United States Navy. Sergeant David M. Heath, United States Army. Lance Corporal William Eugene Uhaz III, United States Marine Corps. Staff Sergeant William Gill Jr., United States Army. Specialist Brandon T. Titus, United States Army. Lance Corporal Caleb J. Powers, United States Marine Corps. Sergeant Tracy Janine Haloka, United States Army. Captain David Lee Lavorne, United States Army. Lance Corporal Dustin R. Fitzgerald, United States Marine Corps. Private First Class Henry C. Reisner, United States Army. Sergeant Richard M. Lord, United States Marine Corps. Staff Sergeant Mark Allen Hedges, United States Army. Sergeant Harvey Emmett Parkerson III, United States Marine Corps. Specialist Jacob D. Martyr, United States Army. Senior Airman James Nathan Worthing, United States Air Force. Command Master Sergeant David Vernon Kuna, United States Air Force.
Sergeant Jose Ernesto Guevara, United States Army. Corporal Brad Preston McCormick, United States Marine Corps Reserve. Sergeant Sean Crichton Cook, United States Army. Petty Officer Second Class Leah Marie Henry, United States Navy. First Lieutenant Charles L. Wilkins III, United States Army National Guard. Staff Sergeant James A. Varela, United States Army. Private First Class Ryan A. Martin, United States Army National Guard. Corporal Richard Henry McConville, Jr., United States Marine Corps. Staff Sergeant James Bradford Strackener, United States Air Force. Gunnery Sergeant Edward T. Reeder, United States Marine Corps. PFC Natchez Washalanta, United States Marine Corps. Corporal Nicanor Alvarez, United States Marine Corps. Private First Class Kevin Cumming, United States Army. Lance Corporal Seth Houston, United States Marine Corps. Sergeant Jason Cook, United States Marine Corps. Second Lieutenant Matthew R. Stovall, United States Army National Guard. Corporal Christopher Belchek, United States Marine Corps. Private First Class Lee Lawrence Recknall, Jr., United States Army. First Lieutenant Sean Patrick Brown, United States Air Force. Sergeant Darrell Mark Morgan, United States Army. Senior Airman Jesse Glenn Williamson, Jr., United States Air Force. Senior Airman Wesley Merrick Burris, United States Air Force. Master Sergeant Richard Lewis Morton, United States Army. Staff Sergeant Robert C. Thornton, Jr., United States Army. Sergeant Major James Timothy Abrams, United States Army. Staff Sergeant Donald N. Davis, United States Army Reserve. Lance Corporal Jacob R. Lugo, United States Marine Corps. Specialist Derek Ryan Mussel, United States Army. Specialist Charles L. Neely, United States Army Reserve. Lance Corporal Alexander S. Arredondo, United States Marine Corps. Specialist Marco D. Ross, United States Army. Specialist Paul M. Drabold, United States Army. Staff Sergeant Bryce Rex Johnson, United States Army. Sergeant Brandon Hayes Patterson, United States Army. Private First Class Nicholas M. Skinner, United States Marine Corps. Corporal Barton R. Humlan, United States Marine Corps. Specialist David Zapata, United States Army. Staff Sergeant Bruce J. Palama, United States Army. Specialist Dustin Scott Colby, United States Army. Private First Class Louis A. Perez, United States Army Reserve. Lance Corporal Nicholas N. Aldrich, United States Marine Corps. Specialist Omid H. Rizani, United States Army. Private First Class Thomas Adaras Collado, United States Army. Specialist Christopher Larry Tisdale, United States Army. Corporal Thomas Douglas Landers, United States Marine Corps. Chief Warrant Officer 2, Jeffrey Allen Latour, United States Army. Sergeant Robert William Kalika, United States Army. Sergeant Edgar E. Lopez, United States Marine Corps. Sergeant First Class Andre Ventura McDaniel, United States Army. Sergeant Adam James Gray, United States Army. Lance Corporal David Samuel Cantu, United States Marine Corps. Senior Airman William Wayne Nagel III, United States Air Force. Petty Officer First Class Ernest Torino Hunt, United States Navy. Airman First Class Carl L. Anderson Jr., United States Air Force. AR, I don't know the rating, sorry. Glenn Michael Schlomer, United States Navy. Staff Sergeant Aaron N. Hollyman, United States Army. Petty Officer First Class Ronaldo Mojico Rafael, United States Navy. Specialist Dean Glenn Todd Eckerd Jr., United States Army. Corporal Mario Gonzalez Jr., United States Marine Corps. Specialist Charles Brian Verbeek, United States Army. Petty Officer First Class Jack Roland Smith, United States Navy. F.A. Ronald Matthews Jr., United States Navy. F.N. Bradley David Solto, United States Navy. Corporal Joseph C. Thibodeau III, United States Army. Specialist Eric John Carlson, United States Army. First Lieutenant Ronald Winchester, United States Marine Corps. Lance Corporal Nicholas Wilt, United States Marine Corps. Captain Alan Rowe, United States Marine Corps.
Lance Corporal Nicholas Perez, United States Marine Corps. Lance Corporal Lavendo Adrian Warren, United States Marine Corps. Corporal Alex Joseph Schur, United States Marine Corps. Second Lieutenant Brett Johnson Harmon, United States Marine Corps. Captain D.J. Martin Rogers, United States Air Force. Tech Sergeant Horace Alfonso Acoy, United States Air Force. Petty Officer Third Class Eric L. Nutt, United States Navy. Private First Class Brenda Nicole Kennedy, United States Army. Captain Iwan Timko Spolsky, United States Air Force. Specialist Charles R. Lamb, United States Army National Guard. Sergeant Shauna M. Morrison, United States Army National Guard. Private First Class Ryan Michael McCauley, United States Army. Sergeant First Class Jeremiah Hilton Barnes, United States Army. Staff Sergeant Gary A. Valiant, United States Army. Corporal Mick Ray Bukowski, United States Marine Corps. Staff Sergeant Kenneth Eric Candy, United States Army. Colonel Jonathan Edward Lake, United States Army. Senior Airman Christopher George Mansfield, United States Air Force. Private First Class Lisa Ray Peterson, United States Army. Petty Officer Third Class Byron Douglas Sozik, United States Navy. Captain John J. Berea, United States Air Force. Staff Sergeant Elvis Bourdon, United States Army. Sergeant Brandon Michael Reed, United States Army Reserve. Lance Corporal Joseph C. McCarthy, United States Marine Corps. Lance Corporal Quinn A. Keith, United States Marine Corps. Lance Corporal Derek L. Gardner, United States Marine Corps. Private First Class David Paul Burridge, United States Marine Corps. Private First Class Devin J. Grella, United States Army Reserve. Lance Corporal Lamont N. Wilson, United States Marine Corps. Specialist Thomas Garces, United States Army National Guard. Lance Corporal Michael J. Alred, United States Marine Corps. Specialist Peter Joseph Nota, United States Army. Lance Corporal Jarek Arsenio Brown, United States Marine Corps. Lance Corporal Anthony DeMario Foreman, United States Marine Corps.
Specialist Clarence Adams III, United States Army. Specialist Johnny Lee Brown, United States Army. Specialist Yo M. Anaros, United States Army. Specialist Chad H. Drank, United States Army. First Lieutenant Timothy E. Price, United States Army. Specialist Michael A. Martinez, United States Army. Sergeant First Class Charles Glover Johnson II, United States Army. Sergeant Charles Milton Maddox Jr., United States Army. Specialist Michael John Lastimo, United States Army. Lastimado, United States Army. Sergeant James Daniel Faulkner, United States Army. Private First Class Jason L. Sparks, United States Army. Specialist Lauro Garcia de Leon Jr., United States Army. Specialist Lauro G. de Leon Jr., United States Army Reserve. Staff Sergeant Jeffrey Holzer, United States Army. Staff Sergeant Richard Kevin Metro, United States Air Force. General Donald Raymond Keith, United States Army.
Can I have the following families please stand as well? Staff Sergeant Zachary Schuyler Barton, United States Air Force. Specialist Ryan Christensen, United States Army. Lance Corporal Carlos Aragon, United States Marine. Sergeant First Class Nathan Winder, United States Army. Chief Petty Officer Jason Workman, United States Navy. Thank you. You can be seated.
226 names plus those in this room. We're able to call out loud. One of the things that we like to do after we've called our names and given others an opportunity to be recognized is to let you know that it's not just about the war on terror. Men and women have given their lives throughout our country's history. And we know that many in this room may have friends or relatives from other generations, they may have neighbors, they may have acquaintances, they may have buddies that they served with, we don't know. But the opportunity now is to be able for you without hesitation, without being shy, if you know of someone you would like to call their name out loud before we close, just give their name. If you don't know their rank, their name and branch of service is fine. But we'd like to give you an opportunity to speak out loud, a name that may not have been spoken out loud for a long time. And it doesn't matter where in our history they might have fallen. So, would anybody like to call a name out loud that we have not read tonight from any part of our nation's history? Yes, sir.
Sergeant John C. Bruce, my grandfather, and my father, Lieutenant Colonel George Eisenberg.
Thank you. Yes, sir.
Lieutenant Carlos Miller, who's an aviator friend of mine, went down to see outside of Guam.
Thank you. Anyone else? Anyone you might have stood for?
My father-in-law, John Calvert, and my dad, Sam Dwayne Williams.
Thank you.
Grandfather, Dick Smith.
Brian Wilson, he was killed in Vietnam, and his parents were our pastors.
Thank you. Yes, sir.
My father, World War II, Augustine Marconi Sr. in the Army Air Force. My brother, Larry Marconi, was Sergeant, United States Marines. Our son, Justin Marconi, United States Marines, 2006.
Yes.
My grandfather, Aiken Carpenter, World War I. My uncle, Robert Carpenter, Korea. My father, James Geertz, Vietnam. My stepfather, Ardeen Evans. Thank you.
Anybody else? We could just bow our heads for a moment of silence and reflection of these heroes today and the families that they left behind, and our opportunity to honor them tonight. Amen.
Amen.
Thank you. One thing I failed to do, Josie, stand up. I did not call Josie by name today. Tonight, Josie K. Carr, she's with us. We love her. She's on our trip too. I didn't call her name out earlier, I apologize. But she is amazing at everything. She's doing advanced. She helps in a lot of ways. I just wanted to call you out, Josie, because I failed to do that. So thank you for your support, and she's with us the entire 5 months as well, has committed her time. And she just lost her husband last month, by the way. And so a fine Marine who did many things for Gold Star families across this nation together with Josie. So just honor her as well. Guys, I know it's time to leave.
If I may,
Yeah.
got two uncles, World War II, Purple Heart recipient, Silver Star recipient, Carlos Singh Kaker. Korea, Purple Heart, MIA, and his brother Abraham Kaker, Singh Kaker, Korea, Purple Heart, Silver Star recipient.
Thank you. Thank you. I know everybody's ready to eat. One of the things I do want to point out is obviously we can't get from one place to another without resources. So I'm not passing a hat or anything, but we're going to have a table in the back with t-shirts and patches and stuff you guys might be interested in. If any of that interests you, fine. If not, fine as well. But just let you know that everything helps us to get from one place to another and try to get this journey complete. So God bless you guys, and let's eat and fellowship.
Thank you.